Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of Black Muslim Women on intersectionality of racism and Islamophobia. Um, I'll be going over some Zoom etiquette, but before that, I wanted to do a land acknowledgement. We have folks from across the country attending this event, and we want to take a moment to, for you all to acknowledge the land in which we are in. Many of us organizers are located in Winnipeg, which sit on Treaty 1, the Treaty 1 territory, the traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji, Cree, Dakota, Dene people, and the homeland of Métis Nation. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the body that we've lost. We would like to acknowledge the stolen bodies, Black, brown bodies, the ones that were stolen through a process of slavery in building the economy we enjoy today, the technology that we're using right now. We acknowledge that our historical engagement in the act of stealing bodies continue to benefit us, while at the same time continue to negatively impact Black community and Black, brown bodies today.
Go ahead, Dr. Bafo.
Hi. Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Michael Bafo from the Faculty of Social Work at the University of Manitoba and the chair of the annual conference, dubbed Strangers in New Homelands, that we have been having for the past 12 years in collaboration with all the partners that are on this program today. We were supposed to have this year's conference, the 13th edition, but because of COVID, it didn't work. And so we are very pleased to be partnering with the Immigration Partnership, MANSO, and all the other organizations to take a look at this very critical issue. I would particularly like to thank Jessica and Becky for their hard work. And Nina, nice seeing you again. Okay, so I hope that we're going to have a very productive discussions today, and then we'll see how it goes. And we're hoping that we'll be able to delve into other critical topics and issues as time goes on between now and the end of the year, and hopefully into next year as well. So once again, welcome everybody and have a very productive seminar.
Just want to say first that there are a couple of organizations. So like Buffalo mentioned, University of the Strangers, Immigration Partner Winnipeg, also Manitoba Association of Newcomers, Canadian Muslim Women Institute, and Islamic Social Services, and also Islamic History Month Canada. Just want to introduce you to Shahina Satiki, who is a legend in the Winnipeg in the Muslim community and all the wider communities. She's been a mentor, an auntie, a sister, and she's here to talk a little bit about the history, Islamic History Month Canada, and the focus of that this year. Welcome to Sister Shahina.
First, let me greet you all with the greeting of Islam. Assalamu alaikum, peace be with all of you. It's my pleasure and honor to be in such this amazing group of people who are doing such good work, and looking forward to listening to all the young women. Islamic History Month Canada was, October was declared as such in the Canadian Parliament in 2007. It was a private member's bill brought by our member from Quebec, and it was unanimously passed. Up till 2013, Islamic History Month Canada was under the umbrella of CIC, that unfolded. In 2013, a group of us took it on. I have been chair since for this month. And the objective of Islamic History Month has become even more important from 2007 to now, considering the amount of racism and Islamophobia and anti-Semitism and anti-Indigenous hate and LGBTQ2 communities, that we felt that this year, especially, We should devote it to talking about racism, not only within the Muslim community, which obviously has, as well as any other community, but most importantly as Canadians. We want our society to be free of racism. We want our Indigenous people to feel safe. This is their land that we sit on. We should honor that. We should go beyond mentioning that we are on a territory towards actually honoring it, not only in word but in deeds, by reaching out to each other. So Islamic History Month really is a very unique thing, considering that no other country has declared an entire month devoted to Islamic history, Islamic civilization. And I think education is the best way to dispel myths about each other, to misinformation that is out there about each of us and our communities, and reach out to each other. So this year we chose the theme, Black Muslims, their resilience and their achievements. Very few people, especially coming from faith communities, know that many of our prophets mentioned in the Bible were Black, that so many scholars, scientists, you name it, were Black. Our women, especially Black women, three of the peace awards were given to African Muslim women. So these are achievements that we rarely talk about. We don't talk about the civilization and what Islam offered the world in every discipline of knowledge. So I think I'm really pleased that today we are having a conversation which is so important. Women are usually the first to bear the burden of racism, of discrimination, and for them to be able to have a forum to speak from their heart and to bring their unique experiences in the forefront will benefit the society at large. And we will take these learnings and put them in and see what we can do, how to address them, how to partner with each other. Each racialized community and marginalized community has to stand together and stand up for human rights, because racism is a matter of human rights. We need to address it from that. So on behalf of Islamic History Month Canada and from our board, I bring greetings to all of you. As we end this month, I'm glad that we are ending it on a note that session like yours and others that we have planned for today, mostly with youth and women, is going to make a difference, a positive difference to our country and to our society. So thank you very much, and looking forward to hearing from all the young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Shahina. So today we will be hearing and three Black Muslim women who will share their personal experience of racism and Islamophobia and their hope for change. So space and time will be given for everyone to ask questions for the QA time with the speaker, and there will be also breakout room, as I said earlier. Yes. So throughout, we will look at also the stats. Thank you. Muslim community make up about 3 to 4% of Canadian population. And while about 9% of Muslim community are Black, in 2017, 17% reported hate crimes were targeted at Muslim and 16% were targeted at Black population. Americans are more likely to hear racist, prejudice comment about Black people, while Canadians hear more negative comment about Muslim. And 47% of Canadians often hear Islamophobic comment through social media, while 37% hear it from their friends and family. And 44% of Canadians hear anti-Black racist comment through social media, while 27% hear it from their friends and family. And half of Canadians do not recognize the diversity of views among Muslim Canadians. Canadians are more likely to harbor negative stereotype about Muslim Canadian than just about Christian or Jewish Canadian. And we're also the least comfortable with figure authority who wears hijab versus any other type of religious garb. This is using a scale of 1 to 5. How comfortable would you feel if the PM wore a cross, kippah, turban, hijab? And you can see the stats there. Thank you. 82% of Canadians give importance to religious freedom generally, but only 68% Canadians give importance to the protection of right of Muslim to practice their religion. That is 2018 stats. With COVID-19, that's another compounded incidence of racism. There has been a rise of Islamophobia online and in the media, in anti-Muslim harassment, in vandalization of mosques, in physical violence against Muslim. 81% of Canadians agree that Islamophobia doesn't exist in Canada. That is a 2018 stat. 60% agree that government must take action to combat Islamophobia in Canada. Let's sit back and really reflect on those numbers and the impact of racism on our sisters, on our brothers, our community members, our neighbors, who not only it's Islamophobia, but there's also intersectionality for Black women, Muslim women. So I'll introduce Taiseer.
So Taiseer is a self-employed business management consultant who helps small businesses improve their business operations. She holds a master's in management with a focus on innovation, technology, and operations. In addition to postgraduate degree in international business and bachelor degree in accounting and finance, currently pursuing a CPA designation. Taiseer is also a self-taught artist who enjoys painting for nature and peace. She believes that art is a great non-violence tool for expression and for conflict resolution. Thank you so much, Taiseer, for coming. And by the way, everyone, her art is beautiful.
Thank you, Jessie. Thank you. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. So today I would like to share a story about what is it like to face a multi-disadvantage or to feel it. When I say multi-disadvantage, I mean being a woman, being Black, and being Muslim. So today I'll go with my story maybe 12, 13 years ago when I first started, then how or when I start to feel this disadvantage thing, and how I helped myself to go out of this, and I became advantage instead. And finally, I'll go through what I expect or wish to see going forward. So I was raised to be confident and see no limits, to believe I could go after and get what I want. I have a diversified career history, a decent education, and immigrated to Canada through the skilled immigrants. And as others, you arrive here with slightly a big expectations. But I spent almost the 4 years of my life here in Canada searching for a job. And when I say search for a job, I mean something related to my field or what I used to do, trying to find the ways to get engaged in this new community and new system. I have not invited for a single interview for the 4 years. I started my job hunt optimistic. And when I say jobs, again, I mean related to my education. So I start to doubt my knowledge, my skills, my worth. The more I don't hear anything from interviewers, the more I start to ask myself what's wrong or what's going on. I even paid for services that help you with doing your resumes, cover letter, in case if things is being done differently here, but nothing helped. But I'm stubborn and I don't give up easily. So for years, I refused to believe that my color, my gender, or my religion could be impact or could be a reason that impact my education or my career perspectives. So I would hear terms like multi-disadvantaged, multi-discriminations, but I never saw myself as one or as disadvantaged. But I started asking myself, do equal opportunities really exist here? It was only after years of applying that I began to question the fairness of the recruitment system here and the recruitment process. The more I stay without job, the more I get gaps on my resume, and the more I get to believe that equal opportunities does not exist, and I'm facing something bigger here. So when I got talking to my friends and families, I realized that I wasn't alone. I even heard stories of people who got interviews after changing their names to more English or Canadian sounds. And I even heard from Canadians, white friends, that when they received resumes, yes, there is a stereotype based on your name. They exclude the names that they can't read or give them a hint or of where are you from or what's your background is. So it was like, oh, is my name a disadvantage? That was my first shock. So I began to look at Islamophobia, racism, sexism, and I realized that systematic challenges Black Muslim women experience, including discriminatory attitude and behaviors in attempting to achieve economic security, is an ongoing issue, and it's happening. So in general, Black Muslim women face greater barriers to getting jobs. I mean, well-paid jobs compared to other racialized or white women. They are overrepresented mostly in part-time jobs, which typically pays less and provides fewer hours of work overall. They experience long and frequent period of unemployment, slower career history or career advancement, and more long-term entry-level jobs. So I decided to fight and not to give up. So I said, okay, I need to go out and show them that we are skilled and qualified enough to add value to your organizations. So I started advancing my education because I don't want to waste more of my time. So beside my bachelor degree in accounting and finance, I started with a certificate in Canadian risk management. And I became a fellow in a global risk management institute. So I said, okay, great, something Canadian on my resume, let's apply again, but nothing. So next year I joined the international business program and I got a good relationships with my instructors. My research in social innovation was one of the best and got highly recognized there. So I was like, finally got a chance to find a way to show my skills and my knowledge. So why not apply again? Maybe something changed, but nothing changed. There's still here, nothing. So now I start to think that there is something really wrong. I hated to start thinking that way, but maybe it's my color. Is it my religion? Is it my gender? What's that barriers that can't get me in this system? So it happened that I got a good relationship with my the student recruitment advisor. I was helping her with many activities within the campus, planning events and so on. So it happened that we start talking about this career barrier things. So she said there is an event coming soon that I might want to participate in it. So yeah, I participated in that event and I met a recruiter who was looking for a market research analyst. I recall that I applied to that employer before, but I heard nothing from them. So we start talking together and exchange some information, and I showed my interest on that position. So he said, okay, apply, and if your resume meets the requirement, we're gonna call you. I went back home and I applied. I wasn't really have a big hope because I applied before, but I haven't heard from them. But this time, yes, I got an interview. And the interviews was taking place next week. So I was really ready and I went to the interview. The interview was amazing. The employer was even forgot about the paper and pen that the prepared questions and stuff that we talk about. We start talking about vision, missions, the business strategies, all that kind of business stuff. He got really impressed and I got the job. I was so happy. That was my first job. And finally I got something. But inside me, there was something not really happy telling me, what if I wasn't from this category? Am I going to spend all this time and years just to prove that I can do something? How about the other Black Muslim women out there who think that opportunities are equal and they keep applying? Not everyone knows how to go out. Not everyone think that networking can help. But I am sure, like I was believing that equal opportunities does not exist and there is something should be changed in here. Anyways, I was happy with my work. I spent there years of a good experience, good friends. I was doing a bit of everything, explored in marketing, finance, social media, account management, everything. And I got promoted to be a business development manager. So after years on these positions, I didn't want to stop, but I wasn't really feel secure inside me. I was thinking, okay, now what? What if I wanted to change my job to go to a different one? Am I going to go facing the same circle again, the stereotype based on your name, based on your background, or what will happen? So I decided to fill the gaps more and back up my plans. So I joined the master in management, and because I'm someone who loves the change and doing things differently, I chose my focus to be in innovation, management, and in technology and operations. And then I joined the CPA. It's a long journey, but I'm still on it. But lessons learned from all of that, all what's happened to me during the past years, make me think like, no, stop. And I decided to create my own opportunities. And instead of waiting for someone to offer you something or even recognize that you exist or you're qualified enough to do some changes. So I decided to be self-employed. I offered a business consultancy. I choose the project that I'm interested in, and I participate in what I like to do. But I don't know. I feel that I started to make some changes. So I volunteered most of my time helping others and designing and implementing and knowledge sharing strategies to raise awareness about positive needs, bridge building, participating in the community locally and globally. So, but next step to me is I want to see myself and Black Muslim women in a leadership positions. Black Muslim women are often the least to be called upon to take formal leadership roles. This should change. Apparently, those Black Muslim women were pushed to work in a certain jobs that has low payments just to get a job. So, but that's hardly a solution. Forcing qualified and skilled women into unrelated positions is not an answer. Facing ethnic minorities into, or forcing ethnic minorities to giving up or to change their names, their beliefs, and their identities is not an answer. It's not an answer, unless if you want to breed a generation of disenfranchised women struggling to identify as Canadians, struggling to make ends meet, and facing the lack of representation everywhere. So simply talking about empowering Black Muslim women isn't enough, unless you want us to, or you want them to assimilate and integrate. But how if they don't even find a way to be a real part of it? So why not to give us a chance to prove ourselves in your communities? Why not put aside any preconceived conceptions you have of us and give us fair, unbiased opportunities? Now this is an empowerment. Finally, and I'm gonna just say that we brings more than our education skills to the table. We bring diversity, experience, resilience, perspectives, and depth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taiseer. That was very powerful. And you're right. I'm gonna use your quote. Equal opportunity does not exist in this instance. And thank you for sharing your story with us. So we'll look at these stats. Muslims face the highest level of unemployment compared to other religious group, especially Black Muslim, 21%. Women of most ethno-religious background are more likely than men to be economically inactive. And that's really resonate with what Taiseer was sharing with us today. Black Muslim women have, Jessica, do you wanna move a little bit high if you can? I don't know.
And I can just I'll just read off the stat. I'm just having a bit of trouble, sorry. The stat, the last one is Black Muslim women have an unemployment rate of 45%.
Thank you. And that's a high number for unemployment. And that resonates with what Taiseer was sharing. The Muslim women have less opportunity, less access to proper or equal employment like anybody else. For example, in the previous slide that we had seen, 45% of Canadians view Muslim as oppressive of women versus 13% of Christian and 12% of Jewish population. Why is that? And that goes back to the intersectionality that we were talking earlier. And also, before I share the bio for our next speakers, I wanted to thank the Bilal community and the Family Center Inc. for their support and being part of the organizer of this event today. Thank you. So I'd like to introduce Aden. Is the coordinator of Triple E program, a youth mentor and office administrator at Bilal Community and Family Center. One of her proudest achievement occurred in August of this year when 25 Black youth graduated from their Triple E program. This made her very happy. I would like to welcome Aden.
All right, thank you very much, Nina, for the great introduction. I just wanted to add a little bit to my bio. Since I was a young child, I've always had a passion for science. I used to work at a biology lab at the university doing gene sequencing. A shift occurred in my life where I went from working in a 3-part lab to a vibrant and dynamic community. Don't get me wrong, I still love science, especially evolutionary biology. But at Bilal Community and Family Center, a hole was filled that I did not know was missing. And that was service to my community and society at large. At the center, I got to interact with a lot of people that looked like me, and a lot of people that looked like me where I didn't have to explain how I was dressed or my headscarf, the hijab. I never needed to explain anything really, they just got it. In hindsight, I never minded being the only Muslim girl in the lab, in all my classes, but clearly something was amiss. Bilal Community and Family Center was the missing link. At Bilal Community and Family Center, I got to meet youth who looked like me. I started mentoring them, and it's been a privilege to be a part of their life. But along the way, I realized how lucky I was to have inner drive, because unfortunately, some of the youth that I met are lost and are in need of guidance. Personally, I had to learn everything the hard way, and I had to learn it the hard way and all by myself. I'm just happy to be an asset to them and for them to learn from me and my experiences. That's why I was really happy about the 25 youth graduating from my program. I was looking at the slide that just showed the stats that Nina quoted, that Black Muslim women unemployment rate is 45%. I was not surprised in the least about that number. At Bilal, I've met many mothers and young women asking why they cannot get a job. They have volunteered to gain more skills. I've helped them edit their resumes, but still no job. The story is always the same. They cannot find any gainful employment. So the stats confirmed what I already saw. I have experienced rejection and not knowing why. I applied at a call center during summer when I was a broke student. That's many summers ago. I received an email telling me, congratulations, you have been selected. As I scrolled down the email, it explained that the hiring process will be in 2 parts. The first half was to assess your typing skills and reading, writing comprehension. Once you pass that part, the second part will take place 1 week later, which will be a group interview. Once you have succeeded in both to the company's satisfaction, you will be hired. I was excited. I started sharpening up my typing skills. I want to cue in a rocky montage. And then part 1 of the interview came. I completed the first half. I was confident I did it well. The receptionist told me that I'll meet up with manager. I'll call manager 1, who will now tell me, who will now schedule the next part of the interview. As I met up with him, we exchanged greetings. We talked a little bit about ourselves. And then he told me, you know what? I have a good feeling about you. I want you to work here. He told me, instead of coming next week, how about you go to the next part of the interview in 30 minutes? I was excited. I was broke. So I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, I will leave with a job. So as I was excited, the 30 minutes, the time was too slow. I was like, I want the time to move quicker. As I sat there, 3 men joined in, and then all of us will be in the job. We'll do the group interview, and manager 2 will be the one who is facilitating it. At beginning, we introduced ourselves. It was a good environment. The interview process went smoothly. All of us exchanged. I was confident. And then we were told you have to go back to the hallway, and then manager 1 is going to tell you if you got the job. We went back, and then one by one, manager 1 was calling out our names, and everyone who came out was having a smile on their face. And I was giving them a thumbs up because I was like, you know what? We all gonna get the job, all of us. I was super excited. And then finally, manager 1 called my name. I went into the office and he sat me down and told me, we are not going to hire you. We're not going to hire you. The good news is you can apply in 6 weeks. I was gutted. I was like, I had to compose myself and not show the disappointment in my face. I told him, can you please tell me what I did wrong so that in the next time I do better? He informed me by telling me, he went over to the computer, scrolled down, and then looked at what the previous manager wrote. And he simply wrote, did not ask any questions. No feedback, no nothing, no criticism, no constructive criticism, nothing. And then manager 1 said, I don't understand, as he read it. I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, if you don't get it, how am I supposed to get it? Then he told me, you're qualified. I'm the one who pushed you through. You're supposed to have done it 1 week from now. I was comforting him. I was telling him, you know what? I understand. This is a process because I'm used to rejection. And then I told him, I understand. And then I thanked him. I'm just used to breaking down walls. I deal with prejudice everywhere I go. First, people assume I cannot speak English when they see me. And secondly, I'm being oppressed by my religion. People often change their opinion once I speak and get to know me. I just wish I didn't have to speak, that they would just see me for me. This will be my last story. And it happened to me at a bus stop. An older white lady told me to take off my Halloween costume. I found that funny. Actually, I still do find it funny because it was in the middle of July. I laughed out loud. She had given me this look and proceeded to, aren't you hot underneath all those clothes? Why do you wear that thing on your hair? She was pointing at my scarf. I looked at her at the time and I was thinking, wow, the bus is taking its time. I kept looking at the bus, I'm like, how can I get out of this situation? I turned and faced her and I told her, my mother put this on for me when I was 5. At first, I used to wear it to become closer to her. The expression on her face softened. And then I continued saying, and as I grew older, I, I grew to understand its value. And that's why I wear it for me. The bus came, I turned around and waved goodbye at her, and she waved back at me. I always wondered, did my interaction with her change her in any way? Or is she still the same bigoted person? The optimist in me hopes I did, because the only way to beat racism is with contact. That is why it's imperative for us to be empathetic with one another. We need to start connecting communities and focusing on what brings us together rather than what sets us apart. We need more non-profit organizations such as Bilal Community Family Center, Immigration Partnership, MANSO, but to mention but a few, who provide the people who are marginalized and often don't have voices and platforms to share their stories. I would like to thank the facilitators that made this happen, and Nina, and my fellow storytellers who have the courage, whose courage have left a lot to be inspired to. My executive director, Mohideen Omar, and financial director, Kadar Ahmed, who lead using compassion. And finally, I would like to thank you, my fellow allies in the audience today for listening to my story. I will leave you with a quote from the late Maya Angelou. Prejudice is a burden that confuses the past, threatens the future, and renders the present inaccessible. Thank you.
Thank you, Umi. That was very powerful. And thanks for, I agree, we should not look at what makes us apart, but instead what brings us together. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we'll look at this political participation slide. Thank you, Jess, for preparing it. Muslim are at least likely are the least likely of faith community to exercise their right to vote. Muslim women have a lower propensity to vote than men. Federally, there are 5 Black MPs, so 1.6%, and one of which is female, 2%. There are 12 Muslim MPs, 3.5%, and 4 of which are women, 1.2%. There is 1 Black Muslim male MP. There are no Black Muslim women MPs. Fatima Huda Pepin was the first Muslim woman elected in Canada in 1995 to the Quebec National Assembly, while the first Muslim elected to the federal government was in 2004. Uzma Malik was the first hijab-wearing Muslim woman elected in Canada in 2014 as a Toronto School trustee. There have been no provincial Muslim MLA. There have been no City of Winnipeg Muslim councillor. And that goes to speak on the need and the impact of lack of opportunity, lack of access. I'd like to also introduce our next speaker, Warda. Warda Ahmed is a social worker and an educator in Manitoban, currently living in Ontario. Warda has worked in community services of nonprofit sector, specifically within the Newcomer settlement and integration services for 12 years. She has mainly focused her work serving children, youth and women, currently working as an educator and a counselor working with women and children. She was born in Somalia, raised in India and Canada, where she fluently speaks Somali, Hindi, and Urdu. Her personal and educational work experience has made her passionate about community development and mental health services. Welcome, my friend Warda.
Thank you so much for that, Nina. Welcome and assalamu alaikum. I greet all of you with the greetings of Islam. Welcome to all the attendees, the speakers, my fellow allies and supporters, and people who are working in the field of resiliency. I welcome all of you and I greet all of you. I pray you guys are all well, especially during this pandemic. I pray you and your families and your loved ones are doing well. I want to thank the organizers, and I want to thank all of you for taking time out for being here today. So I am a Winnipegger. Unfortunately, I no longer live there, but I still consider myself a Winnipegger. I do miss my community, my people in Winnipeg. And when I say my people, I mean all of Winnipeg. Nothing beats Winnipeg. For those of you that are thinking to leave Winnipeg, think about it twice. Warmest community you'll ever be part of. So I also want to acknowledge that we are on the lands of the First People, the Indigenous people, and I want to remember their work, their ongoing work, where we get a lot of our teachings from in terms of resiliency and hope. So I do want to acknowledge their presence all around us. So as I was thinking about what to really focus my conversation on today in these few minutes that I have with all of you, I was mixed between, should I talk a lot more about my own self and my specific experiences, my sexism, my challenges, because that's a lot of storytelling and the time will not suffice. I came to Winnipeg, but this is what I wanted to summarize it into. I came to Winnipeg as a 16-year-old. I was fortunate enough to have been raised in India. After the war had occurred in Somalia, my family relocated to India. And that gave me the opportunity to have been between a people that didn't look like me, but we had a lot in common. The fact that obviously I was raised amongst them. I was just a few months old when I had moved to India with my family. So I learned my walking, my talking, my life began in India. That allowed me to realize and think unconsciously at that time, obviously given I was a child, that I am amongst a people who looked a lot of different ways. They came from different backgrounds, different faiths, different look, different attire, different clothing. And I was just like them in the sense that I as well looked different. I as well had at times, not always, I had a different attire at times. In fact, a funny thing that my mom had to one time do a little sit down with me to make me realize, to make me really think of the fact that I am not Indian by birth. I really genuinely thought, because I spoke Hindi language, I spoke Urdu, I was amongst my friends and my community where everyone, recognized themselves as being people from India. So that's what I as well, being a little child, that's the comfort zone that I as well found myself in, that I didn't identify myself as Somali. I understood the language. I understood everything my mom and dad would speak to me with, but repeating or saying the language back, being able to converse was not easy. So in my head, I was an Indian child in a Somali household. So my mom had to do a little sit down with me, and she said, I'm happy that you recognize yourself and you identify yourself as partly being from India, but just so you know, you're also Somali, so maybe work on that language as well. Growing up, though, it was a blessing to have been able to be in that type of a community where I already had different identities, that I looked at both of them as my own. Then I came to Canada, where again, that journey continued, where I'm looking at all these different people from different backgrounds, different faith. They look different, some of them dress different. So in my head, I am still a Muslim, I'm a Somali. I partly consider myself also an Indian because I was raised there, and now I'm a Canadian. So I had all these different identities in my head that I was super proud of. And till this day, I'm super proud of. To me, those identities were strength and are still strength. But as I grew up in Canada, when I came here, I did not wear hijab. I started wearing hijab when I was about 19 years old. And that shift very quickly, because I got my first job when I was almost 17. at that time, I did see I did face certain things around me in my life where I could tell that there were certain areas, there were certain times where I had to prove myself a little harder. I had to work in school a little bit harder. I was in a school that was predominantly white children, and I had to prove myself a little harder. I remember my first year in my high school, people were shocked for me to have been speaking English. I spoke English when I came to Canada. I did not learn English in Canada. I came with my English language. That was my first medium of studies in India. But my classmates, and again, they were children. I didn't look at it as something that I had to get offended about. But slowly, that line just started to become of a weight in my heart. Oh my God, you speak English. Oh my God, your English is great. Or saying things out to me loud and clear, speaking in a slow manner as though I'm not understanding. My counselor had to sit down with me at one point where I needed to discuss with my guidance counselor what I wanted to do in university. So she started speaking to me about what I could potentially be. And I remember a lot of what she thought I could be was very different than what I wanted to be. Because in her mind, she wanted to ensure that I'm not taking up too much on my shoulder. And perhaps she was looking out for me in a way that assumption that I don't know enough just yet. But again, I wished I had the opportunity of being asked, how much do you know? What would you like, right? Given that same opportunity my white classmates were getting, right? When I started wearing hijab, there was another layer. Now I was not just a Muslim Black girl, but now I was a Muslim Black girl who wore hijab. So the constant asking of, why do you wear it? How often do you wear it? Do you sleep with it? Are you allowed to remove it in front of your family? What is in there? Do you have hair? All these discussions, all these questions of constantly being in a space of explaining myself. And unconsciously at that point, I almost looked at it as a way for me to make friends because I was new to Canada, right? So in my head, I was thinking, oh, people are interested in my life. People would like to know more. People would like to know, how does a Black girl speak Hindi? Why does this Black girl communicate with the Pakistani community in Urdu? Oh, people now want to know, how does this girl act in front of her family with her hijab on? There was a constant interview session everywhere. In A&W, my first job at St. Vital Mall, to later on, moving on to settlement services, where now in settlement services, I, in a way, had become an unofficial spokesperson for my clients, right? Who looked like me, who lived like me. And this constant notion of me protecting them from what I had experienced. And mind you, when I got my first settlement job in Welcome Place, at the time I was 19 years old, very early times of when I started wearing hijab. So at this point, I'm a teenager, figuring Canada out, been in Canada at this point for 4 years. But at the same time, I'm noticing things happening to my young clients, my teenage clients, my children clients from Welcome Place, who they're a life skills trainer. So my job was to take them around Winnipeg City, teach them how to take the bus, how to go grocery shopping, where, the to-go places and not to-go places, the places to look out for, safety checklist. When your white guidance counselor tells you things that you could do, ask her, or ask him, is this coming from a space of they thinking what you can do, or you actually, that's what you want to be when you grow older? Constantly reminding my little cousins that keep up your motivation for you wanting to be in math, you wanting to be in science, right? Not constantly being told that, oh, you'll be a good artist, or you'll be a good makeup, a hairstylist. And not to say those fields are not fields of honor and respect, but giving the person the authority, the space, the opportunity for speaking for themselves, right? Not coming with this notion that, you have these number of identities and this is what media has told us, this is what you guys do, this is how you live, hence we need to educate you, we need to protect you. The white savior mode, the amount of times the white savior mode has played in our lives is draining, right? And when I say white savior mode, that's not to generalize, because a lot of my friends and my allies and my supporters, people that I call sisters, are from the white community, a lot of them. But that notion that you need to save and protect people, and that can go in anyone's head, by the way. It's just a term, white savior mode, but it can go in anyone else's head, where people just come with this assumption that she's Muslim, perhaps her religion does not allow her to do XYZ, so we need to support her. We need to tell her. We need to encourage her. When the matter of the fact is, my religion is a religion that had allowed women's rights way before any of the West countries that we're in today. My religion tells me literally in clear context, in my faith scripture, in the Quran, my faith tells me there's nothing as a woman that I can't do that my male counterparts can do. My hijab is not because my male relatives are oppressing me or forcing me. My hijab is my choice because it's my body, it is my right. And you'd think these things that I'm telling you are common sense, human decency, give every human the autonomy to decide for who they are, what they wear, what they believe in, what they eat, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of life. But the reality is freedom of speech and freedom of life and the right to life, right to freedom, right? That is something that is for few, not for all. That is a privilege that has been given by our society, by the systems, by the governments. It is given by default to a very few, certain few who look a certain way. And oftentimes it is our relatives that are from the white community. And you better be certain that you don't have anything on your head. No turban, right? No hijab. You better not be looking like everyone else. And this is where I want to end off. As a Black Muslim woman, I know as a woman who's been independent and has been in a space of a fortunate space of being able to shape her life as she wanted to the best of her ability. It was not easy. It was a fight. It was a fight. It was not easy. And I thank God for the fact that I didn't stop by those barriers, by those bullies, by those walls. And I thank God for the people who came in my path. Let them be my friends, my family, my friends. Let them be my allies, my colleagues, who every time, some of them whenever I would doubt or when I would get, in the space of, I'm drained, I'm tired, or should I even try this? They would remind me, keep going, don't stop. I'm fortunate for those reminders, especially as a teenager. That was very important for me. I remember my first interview at West Central Women's Resource Center, where I served for 5 years as a NISU. My first interview, my job interview, was I was wearing what I traditionally always wear, something called abaya, which is a Black dress that, again, I, by choice, very confidently love to wear, right? It is how I'd like to cover my body. The autonomy that I've got on my body. I remember going for that interview and my sister Samia telling me, me asking my sister Samia, my older sister, who's been my mentor, my support through thick and thin. I asked my sister Samia, I'm going for a settlement service job. At the time, I was 20 years old. And I asked, and I knew I had the experience. I had, at that point, I had already worked for 3 years in settlement services. I had lived the life of integration. I knew the hardships of a newcomer in Winnipeg. So I knew I fit the job. But that doubt of, was my attire going to be accepted? I remember 20 minutes before the interview, me calling Samia and being like, Samia, most likely I'm going to be interviewed by a bunch of white people who are going to probably wonder, what am I wearing? Is that okay? Are they going to doubt who I am for who, in reality, who I am? Or are they just going to doubt me because of their assumptions of me being Muslim? Fortunately, the people I met at that meeting, some of them, Jackie Hogue, Erica Weeb, Sue Hong, God bless them, they came to be the complete opposite. They were my cheerleaders from the beginning time. Until this day, they are people that I look up to, but they were one of the few people, right, that reminded me that, you know what, Warda, there is that predominant emotion of resiliency in you, but some of us are there that are part of your village. And as a Black Muslim woman, for me personally, my predominant emotion is not fear, even though that's what the rhetoric is constantly being put in our heads to us and the people who look like us, Black community, the Indigenous community. But the people in our village, let them be our family, our friends, and our allies. The people in our village, they're constantly reminding us that they got our back. But let me tell you, it is at times draining. to constantly, like today, sometimes I want to be able to share happy stories. I want to be able to just share what everyone could just come together and have a happy, jolly time together. But it's draining to make ourselves vulnerable and to have to constantly share stories where we're wondering and asking, is it too much to ask for the basic human decency, basic human rights that give every human their basic right to live and let live, and don't make people get in this rhetoric of the fear mongering that you are not enough, prove yourself 3 times harder, because that's what my people do. They work 3 times harder and we still sometimes don't make it. So I want to ask those of you that are here with us online today, can you be part of our village? Can you be with like us, the storytellers? Because it's draining to do this work by ourselves. We're grateful for the resiliency our families have raised us with, that our faith teaches us. We're grateful for that. But to fight this fight alone is draining. And the division that the rhetoric of the ignorance and the fear mongering, those that like to exploit that, to fight that fight alone is draining. So I hope we can all be on the same boat, on that same page, because guess what? Except my Indigenous sisters and my brothers, everyone, those of us online today and everyone around the world, in everyone around Canada, each of us has come to this land on different ships, but we are on the same boat today. We might have come here in different times and different ships, but today we are all on the same boat. So I leave you with that. I'm sorry if I took up way too much time. I'm grateful for this time, for this opportunity, and I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful for the future. And this is a start to see so many of you with us today, to be here with us. That says a lot. That speaks volumes. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Warda. Thank you for sharing your story, and especially the impact of the invisible currency that we experience every day, and the white fragility. Thank you. So our next step will be, we will open up to QA. So for Q&A question, please raise your hand or put the question in the chat box, and Becky will be reading those questions for us. And I will be asking the speakers to share their point of view. Thank you. And while people are formatting their thinking, their thoughts, while you're also putting your question into the chat box, I would like us to think. So I'm going to ask the speakers, what action would you like to see from allies today and moving forward? So I'll put that question to our first speaker, Taiseer, if you can answer, and then we'll go.
Thank you, Nina. For me, in general, I would like to see a mechanism created for overseeing and evaluating, ensuring domestic implementation of the Convention of the Elimination of Discrimination against the Black Muslim or Blacks in general. I want to see something like that. I expect from our allies to take, or I ask them to take your skills and resources and ask to collaborate with Black Muslim communities and organizers and work something together so you can get to know each other better. And also, I can say that engaging immediately with the community and hear the stories same like today and from others from different perspectives, so you can not speak for us, but at least when you are in a community and you know people, or you can change their perspective, or you can better understand what they are talking about, and participate on the communities, on their events. Accept the invitations when we invite you, or all those Black Muslims women organizations invite you, accept the invitation and be part of it. Last point I'll say, do you think that all Muslims or Black Muslims agree with each other? No, they are not. it's same like any community. We facing that. We can face the discrimination within too, but this should not stop us. We need to make a change within and broader. So don't stop and say, oh, those people are not unified. No, just go and understand all the ethno-cultural communities and try to connect those people together, and you be part of it. So yes, that's all what I can say now, and I'll leave opportunity to others to participate.
Thank you, Taiseer. Becky, do we have any question before I pass on to the other speakers?
I just see one in the chat box right now, which is a question about whether our speakers would be able to speak in the mental health community.
Thank you, Becky. Warda, do you want to answer to that?
Thank you, Nina. So if I understand correctly, so wondering if I'd be okay to speak with people that are serving the field of mental health community, I'd be more than happy to. It'll be an honor. I will not speak for my sisters. They can let us know.
Thank you, Warda.
I can share. I can share something in here. We don't mind just to speak to the mental health. And one of the things that I did before, I participated in one of the mental health organizations, and I even facilitated and organized an art event where I went there with all my tools and art things, and stand in front of them, and we start painting together, and they all were joining at the beginning, and they felt like no, I'm not good in painting, or they don't want this conversation. But I end up with a full table of people painting while we're talking together about all that things. So yes, why not? We can do that always.
Thank you, Taiseer. Umi, do you want to share one word, few words, and then we'll go into the breakout room?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind talking, but mental health is a big topic. So I feel like I am not qualified. I'm not inadequate to speak on it, but I wouldn't mind talking, sharing my story. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Thank you, Umi.
You're welcome.
So we are a few minutes. We'll take a few minutes to do breakout sessions. And through the breakout session, it's time for us to reflect and pause and take action as we move forward. Jess, is that okay?
Yeah, like it doesn't look like anybody else has specific questions. Becky, there's nobody putting up their hand, right?
There's none. There's a comment from Erica in the chat box that maybe I'll just read, just to thank you so much for sharing with us today and teaching us through your experience. Thank you for your words also, Warda, because it's true, we all have more to do, so the burden doesn't have to fall on your community. We have to work together for systems change.
Thank you so much, Erica, for that wonderful comment. And then just before we go to breakout rooms, and it'll just be a reflection exercise where we can all debrief, I just wanted to see if Umi or Warda wanted to speak on the first question about what allies can do. If you'd like to share on that, and then we'll go into the breakout rooms.
I'll let Umi go first.
Thanks, Warda. One thing I would like my allies to do is I would like more funding for research, because the first thing when this came, when I was a part of the committee coming up with this thing, I Googled Black Muslim women in Canada and nothing popped up, no research, nothing. The search bar was completely empty. So I was like, I want funding for research to see how these problems can be solved. As Warda said, we are tired of saying the same stories. It's frustrating hearing the same thing over and over. Unemployment, we have to justify ourselves. Why can't we be in a world where we don't have to justify? So I would like my allies to help to come and help us form research centers, give back to communities, small centers, nonprofit organizations, which make these discussions happen. So that's what I would like. I pass it over to you, Warda.
Thank you so much, Umi, and thank you, Taiseer, for those awesome suggestions. I wholeheartedly agree with both of you. Very important points. I will not repeat what they've said. What I'd like to add on is to those of you who are in workspaces, or for that matter, for those of you who are around spaces where you do have around you the Black community, people from the Black community, the people from the Indigenous community, sometimes I think what does help and gets the person to a space that they realize that they've got people that want to be part of their village, is to just having simple conversations and asking the person, getting to know the person through just a check-in, especially when you do hear things that are happening around them, just a check-in, just to see perhaps how they're doing, especially if that person is something that works closely with you or studies very closely with you. You see them on an often basis, to perhaps to make that an opportunity for them to be able to share, but also know that they've got support around them. And also, when those of us that are especially in spaces of authority, management, leadership, any type of space that you hold some type of authority, I'd like you to check in a little deeper in your organizations, in your workspaces, your tables, just to see, are things really happening as good as they should be happening for those that are from the Black and the Indigenous community versus everyone else, right? Especially those that are, because very often we do see, like, Taiseer had pointed out earlier, where you'll see a qualified Black or Indigenous person who's shown and perhaps worked 3 times harder than everyone else, but right while they're sitting there, everyone else gets the opportunity to get promoted or be recognized or given just their due right. Don't give them extra, as a petty party. Petty party is also not good. Please don't ever do petty party, right? Because that doesn't make anyone feel good, but just giving people their due right. So checking around your table, are things happening truly the way they should be happening in terms of equality, and not just because, we think a certain someone who looks a certain way should be in certain position, but just giving people their due right. So just checking one time a little deeper around your tables, around your organizations would help a lot. Thank you for listening again.
So thank you so much again for the speakers being open to the Q&A session. We just wanted to end this on a couple things. I'll share my screen quickly. I know we're going past, I promise it'll only be a couple minutes. If you've been to one of our IPW events before, we always last an extra half an hour. So I'm very sorry about that. We just wanted to highlight some, I realize that we have people across the country in this event, but just want to highlight some, I didn't finish that, but highlight some resources of places people can go if they need to debrief further and talk out some of the stuff that we've heard today. So Elmwood has their racial trauma counseling and support program. So there's the contact information for them. The Manitoba Islamic Association has a mental health and well-being program. So they have counselors there if anybody needs to talk with them. Also, Islamic Social Services has family programs and has social workers on staff. Similarly, with the Canadian Muslim Women's Institute, they also have family programs and some really great employment programs. Bilal Family Community Center, they also have staff and they have programs. So if you're needing to chat with them, please do. And finally, there is the Central Neighborhoods has been collecting a BIPOC mental health workers list who provide discounted rates for counseling. So please feel free to check those out. We encourage you all to, if you need further debriefing, to reach out. And we just want to highlight that next week is National Francophone Week. And the RIF Manitoba has a public forum on racism in communities in Manitoban Francophone communities, myth or reality. So if you're interested in participating in that Francophone public forum, please, here's the information, check it out. I think they have a Facebook event about it as well. And finally, I just wanted to thank everyone. I'll take this down. Just thank everybody for coming. I really want to big shout out to our organizing group. You've been wonderful, and this has included the wonderful speakers, and I really appreciate you sharing your stories and sharing how we can move forward in this. And really, we know that this is a taxing experience on you, so we really appreciate you taking the time and speaking with all of us today. And I just want to appreciate everybody and thank everybody for coming, and we hope that you take something from this and bring it into your personal and professional lives.